All right, Eugene. So tell me about yourself.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Eugene Mesok. I have been Android developer since 1220. I worked at different companies like Sberbank and Kaspersky. Last 5 years, I work at Kaspersky, where I took titles like a software expert and software architect. So when I was a software expert, I was responsible for uh, common patterns and architectural different architectural design principles and all this stuff for mobile team that contain more than 50 developers. And well, when I was a software architecture, I was responsible for testing infrastructure, that was used by more than 1,000 developers. Also, I'm author of a lot of different articles, talks, and all the stuff devoted to different topics like architecture, analytics, Rich Java, and the last that I'm a founder of Kasperesso library. It's a library for auto tests in Android. So yeah.
Awesome. Sounds good. So without further ado, let's just jump to the question. So our question today is design a photo application more like Google Photos. And what
Okay.
we're looking for to support a wide range of audiences, not limited to like Western countries, United States, but basically worldwide. We also want to include sharing, and we need to support albums, right? So we can create different albums, you can put photos there, and privacy is also really important for us.
Okay. Got it. So do you see my screen? Yep.
Yep.
So great. So requirements. So yeah, I just remember. So no privacy or security, you said. Yeah, I just
No, I
made.
said privacy and security is really important. That's probably the number one requirement to have right now.
Important. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, privacy, security, important. Okay, next. So we are going to what features we are going to have? It's I just remember album. What else?
Albums sharing.
Album sharing. Okay, so photo applications. It means that we can take photo, edit it, yeah, and so we can take photo and edit it. Am I right?
I don't think we should edit it, so let's leave it out of scope.
Yeah, okay, take photo, but editing out of scope. So you said something about limitations. Yeah, I missed it. About limitations, I mean the number of users and all this stuff. So what kind of, yeah, how much users we will have, and what plans for our product in the
Let's imagine that
process.
we're gonna have 1 billion users worldwide.
1 billion. 1 billion users.
And the app is especially popular in India.
App is in India. Yeah, popular. Okay, so we will have some problems with network and all this stuff. Okay, price album take photo 1 billion up is India. So what we are going to consider, it's client plus API, or client plus API and plus backend.
Let's just stick to client and maybe discuss APIs if we have time.
Okay, client plus API. So what else? What's important? Privacy, security, photo. Okay. So also it's offline mode, sure, because we want to have a chance to see our photos. Okay, so offline, that's why it will affect possible storage with all this stuff. What else? Yep. So it's a standalone application. Standalone application. So okay, if I missed something, please fix me. But I think that I showed everything that you said. Am I
Yeah,
right?
it seems reasonable.
Yeah, sure. So functional and non-functional requirements. First of all, it's uh, take photo. Next, it's album sharing. Album sharing. Yeah, it's enough. And non-functional requirements will contain so network concerns because we will work in India. Also offline with all this stuff, storage and so on. Uh, Privacy and security. Yeah, privacy and security. So privacy and security, I think we just also think about authentication and all this stuff. Yeah, we'll think about
We may
it.
skip authentication right now. So imagine like magically the user got authenticated. So we don't need like login, sign up flow. We can do it our scope.
Got it. So okay, it's our main requirements. Yeah, functional, non-functional. So let me to start with a high-level diagram, I think. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay, so first of all, what we have. So first of all, just let's draw a main features. First of all, it's a take photo module. Yeah, another thing, it's album. Yeah, album. So album model. So not album model, but I think photo watching. Yeah, watching module. Yeah, and it will contain a all photos and albums. Yeah, so it will contain both of them. Okay,
I
and
have a quick
net.
question. Sorry to interrupt. What do you mean by
Yeah.
module?
So model, I mean, so first of all, it's like a separate feature, and model, I mean, maybe in the future it will be a separate model. So if we are going to create a very good application here where uh, our users 1 billion, where we have 1 billion users. That's why I think that we will have very big team for all this stuff, and that's why I think it's better to think about model separation, yeah, to improve work of big team. So that's why first of all, I think that's first of all it's a logic model, and the second maybe it will be separate Gradle model, yeah.
Okay.
So, but separate Gradle model, it means that maybe it will contain another model. So it's more about logic now, but we will see a little bit later.
Got it.
Okay. Okay, and next it's sharing model. But sharing model, I think maybe it will we will join it the sharing model to photo watching model, but we will think so. From the scratch we just make it a separate, but maybe later we'll change it. Okay, we have our business features, and what next? Also about our non-functional, all this stuff. So sure, we have some kind of backend, yeah, and we will have some kind of storage, yeah, we will have some kind of storage. Uh, so yeah, I just didn't clarify very important thing. So we have a photo application. That's why we can upload and download photos. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah, upload, download photos. So yeah, it's very important, and I just want to add it to our functional requirement. So we will work with upload and download photos. That's why we will have a storage. Storage for storing our photos. I'm not sure about database, something else. We can consider it a little bit later when we will consider a concrete flow. Also, we just need to have some special model that is responsible for encrypting, decrypting model. So why it's important? Because if we want to have to support some kind of privacy and security, we want to reach the state when other users can read our photos, and that's why this model will be responsible for encrypting, decrypting, and by what key and something else. Consider it later. So what else important? Offline mode, okay, with this, and also, yeah, we will draw some kind of DI, yeah, and some kind of navigator or coordinator, yeah, that will navigator or coordinator that will
I
be
have,
responsible for.
yeah, I got a quick question
Yep,
because
yep, 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 yep.
I was not sure like what exactly navigator or coordinator does. So can you explain?
Repeat, please. I didn't understand.
Second?
What did you say about navigator coordinator? Yeah, I didn't understand.
Yeah, maybe I interrupted you too early, but like immediately I was not sure why exactly you need this component and what it would be doing.
Navigator or coordinator?
Yeah.
So this component will be responsible for navigations between different screens. Yeah. Anyway, we will have a screen for take photo, for watching all photos, watching albums, watching concrete photo, for sharing. Yeah, and we will be forced to navigate between these screens, and this component will help us, and will maybe provide basic different components like router, yeah, router, navigation holder, navigator, yeah, to try to separate, uh, try to separate implementation of navigation and using a navigation in our screens. So something
Got
else.
it.
So it's our high-level diagram. Upload. Yeah, and the last thing that we just need to upload and download photos. Upload and download photos. Eh, so maybe we will have a. Yeah, I think if we. Yeah, I think we just need to create a separate upload. Maybe download photos. So maybe we will need to create a separate model that will upload to download photos, because we will have a very weak network, and that's why our network can be disrupted in the something and interrupted and all this stuff. And this model will be responsible to save progress and to save a progress and so on, and continue uploading or downloading. So yeah, I think it's all that I wanted to mention, and maybe we can consider some flows that maybe you are interested more.
Yeah, so what I would really like to know more, it's about albums because like briefly mentions them in photo watching module, but I really want to know how we download them, store them, and present them.
Okay, got it. So let's think about future albums. Yeah, how we can organize it. Mm, so I think that albums, what does it mean? Let's maybe begin with a descriptions of this term. Yeah. So first of all, it will have some kind of ID, will have some kind of name, some kind of description. Yeah. And what's important, it will contain some kind of list of uh, photo ID. Yeah. Not all photo, but list of photo ID. And I just remembered one very important thing, because we work in India, our network is not very good. It's very important to support some kind of thumbnail photos. Yeah, so photos with different resolutions. Yeah, to give us a possibility to download maybe a photo in worse or better quality. Yeah, just also edit this. And here list of photos IDs. So it's our albums. What about photo? What is it? Yeah. So photo, first of all, it's ID, maybe also some kind of description. Yeah, and well, first of all, it will be so it can be or raw bytes, or maybe reference to storage. So now it's doesn't matter. We will consider it in details. And what does it mean, albums? Yeah, so we just for example, first of all, we have some kind of screen of photos. Yeah, photos. It will be a list of photos. Yeah, and we can photos. Yeah, for example, these. Yeah, these and so on. And when we click on the photo, yeah, or we can see a photo, or maybe some kind of context menu where we can add to concrete album. Yeah,
I would say that we don't need to go into UI. I'm not interested in UIs that much.
yeah, yeah.
I'm
So
just trying to understand storage better. So the first question, when you mentioned like raw bytes with reference to storage, which one would you pick?
interesting. So yeah, okay. So I just wanted to clarify that albums here will contain first of all this thing. So that's why when we just open an album, we can download photos using this field. Okay. Is it okay? Yeah.
So I'm just trying to understand the storage. So like
Yeah.
imagine you have tables, right? So like no matter if you working with some ORM provider, they usually
Yeah,
backed by SQLite. Could be
yeah.
like not the case, but imagine that's the case because I
Got it.
know which library you might be using. And
Got it.
so would you store raw bytes, basically storing the blobs, or would you store a path to a file? And
Yeah, got it.
what are the
Yeah,
pros and the cons? Like how
got
would you
it,
sort
Alex.
them?
Yeah, got it, Alex. I just wanted to close our previous question. So I got your question about raw bytes or ref to storage, what to do in our photo. So what's what what's better? So yeah, really we have two options here. It's blob into a database, or just files. Yeah, just files. So there are different opinions how to make it better, but also we just need to think about encryption and decryption. Yeah, and uh, encryption and decryption. So our photos will, so we will store a lot of photos, a lot of photos, maybe a lot of photos. That's why storing it in database, our database can be catch some kind of out of memory and stuff like that, because uh, just imagine 1000 of photos into database. No, it will not work. So that's why our choice is to store it into files. Yeah. So, and what does it mean files? It's raw bytes. Yeah, but it will not be just simple raw bytes. It will be encrypted. Yeah, encrypted raw bytes. Yeah, it will be encrypted raw bytes, and I can show you the flow how it will work. Okay,
So basically, maybe I'm not quite following, but so which one did you decide? Did you decide on blob or you decide on files?
files.
Okay.
Yeah, because blob in database, so we can store a lot of files, and it's not very applied for database.
Okay, I
It's wrong.
understand.
So, and I can show the flow how we can store with encrypting and decrypting, or just what do you prefer?
I'm not sure if I follow me. So, like when you mentioned flow, what exactly do you mean?
So I mean that, for example, the flow how we can so when we open our application, yeah, and we want to see a list of photos, yeah, so how we will download these photos, yeah, using what modules and all this stuff. I
Okay,
mean,
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
let's see it.
yeah. Okay, so for example, we here, yeah, and what, for example, yeah, it's our like photo watching, yeah, just a photo watching module, yeah, and we just want to download photos. So I suggest to use a pattern repository, yeah, hide that will hide details of implementation how we are going to get this data. So next we go to, so we will have some kind of storage. Yeah, we'll have some kind of storage, and we will have a special model like encryptor, yeah, and decryptor. So that's why we can go here to get some kind of maybe yeah, we can first of all go to the storage, download photos, and next, yeah, use encrypted decryptor to decrypt our bytes and return to our module ready files. Yeah, so it will be first of all we go here, next we go
Quick
here,
question:
next
which component would be responsible for downloading photos?
for downloading photos.
Yeah, would it be a repository or would it be something else? And what's the purpose of repository? Why did you use repository pattern here?
Mhm, mhm. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that here we consider offline mode when we have downloaded photo in our storage. Yeah. So and yeah, downloaded photo. And here, yeah, the scenario is simple, but what about when we have online? You mean when we, yeah, you mean this, yeah, when we are online and when we didn't download photo before and wants to download it from cloud, save to storage and all this stuff. Or just we consider only of situation when we downloaded early photo to
I mean, we
our
probably need
storage.
to cover them all, right?
What?
So like we're not looking at one case if it's like online or offline. We need to make sure that it works in any case.
Got it. Got it. Your idea. Okay, we just want to consider all of this stuff. Okay, let's think how we just need to organize all this stuff. So yeah, okay. Just remove temporary all this stuff. Mm, yeah, so here our picture will change. Yeah, because uh yeah, got your idea. Got your idea. So photo watching model, can want to download a lot of photos. Yeah, a lot of photos. Uh, a lot of photos. Yeah, and what we are going to do. So a lot of different photos. That's why I think it's better to use a special model like this. Yeah, upload or download photos model. Yeah, what what is it? I think that here we can use a uh, so pum 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 pum. How to make it better?
So what I'm looking for, so imagine we apply a repository button, right? And
Yeah. Well,
so when it said upload, download photos,
mm-hmm.
like I'm not sure about how the data flows. So imagine like you have photo watching module, like when you can display all albums, maybe some thumbnails,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you ask your repository for some data. So
Yep.
what would repository do, and which scenarios would you need to cover?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Got. Uh, so we can consider repository as a pattern that hides implementation. Yeah, how we are going to obtain these photos. Yeah, so how to obtain these photos, and that's why mm, we can. mm, So, and that's why here I think that we can use some kind of maybe secure REST pattern. So what does it mean? I think that we need to separate all our tasks, yeah, or something else into two things. It's a commands, yeah, and just queries. So what I mean, comments. I mean such thing like a down maybe yeah download photo and some kind of ID. Yeah, so we just uh, ask to download photo. Yeah, and in queries, I mean that we have some kind of maybe channel where we it's a special observer that will return results that will return different results. For example, we downloaded photo 10 and next photo 4 and next uh, photo 6 and stuff like that because we are going to download maybe a lot of photos and stuff like else and we cannot uh, and I think it's better to listen results in one separate channel, not in a lot of a lot of channels and stuff because in one channel.
Uh,
And
Let me interrupt you just for a bit. I missed this part when you introduced tasks. So what are those? What exactly are tasks? And
yeah,
like, why do you need commands and queries? And what is channel? So there's lots of questions. So let's start from the top.
yeah.
So why do you need tasks?
So why I need task? Task I need. So the first so let's assume, yeah, let's assume that our repository can have a very simple design, yeah, like just get photo get photo ID.
Okay.
Yeah, and for example it's some kind of it maybe it's a blocking, maybe it's returns as a kind of maybe it's, yeah, for example it's a blocking, yeah, or it's I think so, it doesn't matter. Yeah, and let's imagine that photo watching model calls 10 or 20 uh, 10 or 20 or 30 maybe more times this method almost simultaneously. So uh, yeah, and we just need to handle. this big number of requests. Yeah, this
Mhm.
big number of requests. And this number of requests. Yeah, and we have some restrictions on our network. Yeah, because we work in India, we have some problems with network, and we cannot open 30 parallel connections to our network. That's why we just need to decrease to limit the number of connections. Yeah, and to create some kind of queue. Yep.
Mhm.
And when we work with some kind of queue or something else, it's better to operate with such terms like tasks. Yeah, so task to do this, task to do this. Yeah, and further, for me, it's better when we separate, yeah, these two things. For example, separate comment, then we just want to download photo, yeah, and separate a query. Yeah, it's a channel where we listen results. Yeah, and we don't await these 30 open connections to something else. We have a one special channel where we obtain results. Yeah, and for example, we downloaded photo this. Yeah, okay, just show it and so on. So yeah,
Okay, so
I
let me try to make sure that I understand. So basically, you have selected a synchronous API for your repository, and repository would both be able to upload and download photos, right? So it's like bi-directional communication. What you're
yeah,
trying to do, you're trying to add like some kind of queue, like a dispatch queue, when you would like to limit the number of concurrent operations. Is that correct?
yeah. So you just said everything right. So we will, I think that we will have some kind of dispatcher, yeah, that will responsible for some kind of queue, yeah, some kind of queue. And I think that maybe uh, yeah, some kind of queue, and dispatcher will be responsible for queue and will apply some policies for size of queues and all this stuff. And the the example of so it will be some kind of job, yeah, and the example of job will be just for example, download, yeah, maybe upload, and something else. Yeah.
I have a
Mhm,
quick question. What's the difference between a task and a job?
mhm. So we try. Okay, got. The difference is that we try to to make separate these two terms. So task, I suggest to use so the task terms I suggest to use for our API. So I mean that, for example, here we can use a download, for example, download photo ID. It will be comment, yeah. It will return, for example, nothing, or maybe just that status, or maybe status okay, and it will create, yeah, a task, yeah. But in a dispatcher, I think that it's better to transform task into jobs, because dispatcher can be dependent on different, for example, policies, yeah, or something else. And it's policies and something else. Also, we can have some kind of different, maybe sinkers or sinkers that will responsible for to clean our storage, yeah, and some moments, and that's why it's better to have a separate entity for all this stuff. So just separate task and job. So task we use more for our API, yeah, that we provides to our users, like a photo watching model, yeah, and jobs, it's our det details of implementation that we use in our dispatch and our queue. Yeah.
Okay, so basically, a task represents like your intention, right? And
Yep.
job is actually how you're going to do that. So my obvious question, like, why can't we just like merge them? So imagine you create task as an interface, right? And then put it down, and concrete implementation can do that. So I'm not sure like why exactly the design needs task and job. Um, so
So I can answer your question because further the the number of tasks will increase, the number of possible jobs will increase, and uh, maybe for dispatcher will be responsible some another team, for repository other team, and it's better to make it separately because it's more about the future. Yeah, because it's better to use for each level, it's better to use their own entities or models. Yeah, because they will change, they will transform, they will differ from each other. Yeah, that's why better to separate them and don't struggle with all this stuff in the future. That's my point. That's my point.
okay, okay. Let's talk more about like sync and policies. So for the policies, how would you limit the size of the queue? So how many jobs, how would you decide the number of concurrent jobs you can perform?
Yeah, good, very good question. Very good question. So I think that first of all, we just can introduce such things like so network. Yeah, network model. I think it's about quality. It's about quality. It's about type. So it's a network model. I mean about a state of network. Yeah. Uh, network maybe some kind of yeah, and for example, network quality type. Another thing may be like region specific. What I mean that, for example, mm, network network cost, maybe something else. So, for example, yeah, I wanted to include network cost into network state, but network state is more about more about the state of the device. Yeah, and network cost is external thing. So
Mm.
region specific, maybe something else. Yeah, and all this stuff will affect policies. What I mean, so policies will affect policies. So it the first version can contain entire logic into policies. So we just know some interfaces from network, some interfaces from region specific, and we will push all this code into policies. Yeah, but further, I think it's better to give a business possibilities to implement different experiments, and that's why these policies will be work very actively with such things like be a the experiments. Yeah, and maybe further we can transform policies in, so in policies model we can use maybe some kind of uh, backend driven development approach. Yeah, where we can change this logic in runtime without uploading new version, because it's very important thing that will affect mm, our our business. Yeah, and it's better to consider a lot of things and be able to change it very quickly and experiment very quickly.
Okay,
So
that makes sense. So a question, like when we push in an A/B experiment flags, right? How
mhm.
often would you push them? And how would you handle situation? Imagine that you have a customer in Indian village who has a network connection for 2G every 6 months. So how would you handle this?
Uh, So how to deliver experiments when we don't have a good network? Yeah. Mm, yeah, it's
It's basically like two questions. The first one, like, how would you build experiment delivery? So I mean, like, how often clients would receive it? And second one,
mhm.
how would you handle cases when like a client installs the app and then goes offline indefinitely?
Uh, mhm. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so first question, yeah, what we can use? So we work in India, not in China. So for example, except China, and that's why we can use such things like a Firebase cloud message or Google. Yeah, for, for Android, it's more about Firebase cloud messaging that supports all this. Stuff, experiments, supports analytics, and a lot of things, and allows to create some kind of the entire pictures. For example, we have these experiments. It affects our data in this manner and in this manner, and so it's very cool thing. Uh, Alternatives of Firebase Cloud Messages. Honestly, I don't know good alternatives that
It doesn't
is
matter. It doesn't matter. Like,
yeah. Okay. So, and what to do with offline mode? Yeah, it's very good question. So here we have no chance to deliver something new for our user. So that's why so we don't options here, and that's why anyway policies must contain some kind of logic. Yeah, that is independent. Uh, that supports a network. That network is doesn't exist here. Yeah. So we so in offline we don't have any options. We just need to be have policies. Yeah, and these policies must consider situations when we don't have network. Yeah.
yeah. All right, so we are almost on the 45 minutes mark and usually not going to have that much. So let me jump straight to the feedback. So I'm going to share the document which I used.
So maybe it's better. So I think that I can stop sharing and I just
No,
share
actually,
link of this.
you can keep it. So everyone who wants to watch, they can open the doc and just see it, and like they can see my cursor, my selection, because it's really good to keep your drawing, so we can
Ah,
address them.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I just thought that I can share a link to this Excel draw. Yeah,
Oh,
and
sure. Yeah,
maybe.
that makes sense. But remember, like, it's not going to be saved in terms that if you try to open this link in a like couple of days, it might go away. So if you want, you can
Yeah.
export it, save in some way, make a screenshot just to make sure that you preserve it if you want to use it in the future.
So yeah, I shared the link. So guys, just you can see it separately. So I will try to not delete this design, but be free.
All
Anyway,
right.
you are free to copy paste. Yeah.
So let's see. Intro was quick. What I would avoid saying, don't say that you're a software expert or software architect. Why? Because outside of companies, especially if it's not like Kaspersky is a big company, but not like Funk Scale. And those titles, they do not transfer very well. And when you said I'm a software architect, you're kind of bragging. And it's like, oh, this guy is software architect, so we're gonna really grill him just to see like how good he is. So it's good that you say I've been working on Android since like whatever date. Currently, I'm working on this. I work on test infrastructure. I build a library, and I manage a team of people. Right. So it doesn't matter what you say. It's not going to be a part of as a feedback. It's most likely can affect like how the interview might approach you. So I would say be as like humble as possible, and just don't because like, oh, you're an architect, and like, okay, so let's go deeper.
Mhm.
So yeah, 2 minutes, 2 minutes is perfect. It's more like an icebreaker. It doesn't really, so don't tell about your full history. Like the interview won't even listen to that. So they ask this question more like just to be polite, I think.
Mhm.
So system requirements, So we had 4 minutes here, which is about right. So can you zoom a bit on system requirements? Okay, so basically, like what was missing? Like I said, okay, we really care about albums, and you never really ask like what exactly is an album. So yeah, so
Okay.
this kind of like slip away and like okay, so we'll see how we go. Don't try to invent extra requirements. Like oh, we need to edit the photo. So editing the photo is just like separate design topic. You can go really deep. So don't dig your own grave because an interviewer is like oh yeah, cool. Like editing photo could be cool, and then I would say it's a much harder task because not that many people actually build photo editors.
Yeah.
So asking about the scope is a good touch. Is it like backend, front end? Most likely it's going to be client, maybe a bit of API, but who knows? Maybe they said, okay, I really want to talk about backend, and then they say, I don't have much experience like building something on a huge scale because remember we're talking about 1 billion users, so it's not like as straightforward when you're just building like a test server just for yourself. Yeah, mentioning offline mode and side effects it can produce is definitely a plus. Then I said, okay, user can take photo. Like, why just limit in taking photo? Why can't we just upload them from storage or get them in any other way? Maybe export them from other application, right? So why not? When you said so, we're building standalone app. I was not sure like what exactly like you tried to say this. You said it's standalone app, but you did not really like piggyback on that. So you said something and basically it led to nothing. And like, okay, this is confusing. I would avoid repeating requirements. So we discuss everything and then you would go and just like first you put like this list, which kind of contains everything. And then you try to break it down to different lists. It doesn't help. So if you want to just start like right away, so functional, non-functional requirements in auto scope and put it this way, or just leave the first list intact and just move forward because you're not saying anything new, but just taking your own time. So when we say, I said like
So
privacy is,
yeah, sorry, Alex, I just interrupted you. So how to better to highlight functional function? You straightforward in requirements, just for example, okay, it's a functional requirement. Or how it's
like
better to
the
set
way I
my
address
time?
this in my own experience, I would just start typing func, non-func, out of scope. And when you talk, you just like put them as
Ah,
bullet points and everything and
okay.
just jump. So this way you only say it once, but make sure that you like you write it down because the interviewer might just forget. And the call is not being recorded. I mean, like not in this case, but generally due to privacy issues, etc.
Okay, got it, got it.
Like the way how you do it, it's not really important. Like you do it like the way you feel necessary, but you need to make sure that this is very efficient in terms of time and it provides lots of material which
Yeah.
would go into the hiring packet and help make a decision. I'm talking about Funk experience. I'm not sure how it works in smaller companies. So we're mostly talking about big tech. Okay, so like I explicitly stated that privacy is really important for us, but we didn't really talk about it. So basically, we jump like, okay, we're gonna store this, we're gonna download, upload. So what I would really discuss is like, are we gonna store everything in a client or a server? So if privacy is very important, we better not store anything on the backend, right? We better do any kind of peer-to-peer communications. So we did not discuss it. So what you can say, like, we can do client or side, server side, but now we're going to be using server side, for example, just to simplify the design or something like that. So you need to pick something, but like if you don't pick in something, you just like, oh, I'm going to be using this. And as an interviewer said, like, why? Why would you do this? Like no pros and cons, just this is like a stated fact. You cannot really tell your justifications. So once again, I stressed it. So the app is really popular in India. And we never really touch this part because like if it happens in a country with a very slow and expensive internet, we might need to want to think about any kind of peer-to-peer communication. So imagine like you took a photo and you want to share it. So why can you just go and share it with Bluetooth with somebody else? Or why can you export it to your external storage card? Why can you just drop it to your laptop or something like this? Because like the internet might not solve all your problems because you might not have internet for many, many months, right? You can only have like power supply. And user settings as well. So if you have environments very constrained, So it's really good to give a user a choice to configure it the way they feel necessary. Of course, you can advocate for ML models, etc., but it's really hard to do, right? Because like people who build those apps, they don't build them in India, like, or if they're in India, they have very good connection, very good phones, etc. So ML solution would be like tough to pull off, especially if you don't have any experience. So I would say provide as many user settings as you can. So how many photos can you download? So would you download photos at all? Would you just like render the name of the photo? And you said thumbnails. Yeah, thumbnails is fine, but once again, traffic could be really, really expensive and really spotty. And if you have like an expensive traffic, you might want to say, I need to add support on my backend for for a download which I can resume. Like you can mention HTTP ranges, for example, because imagine you have 1 MB photo, you try to download, it fails. You try to download, it fails. So at the end of the day, the user would not have a photo, and it like they just wasted a bunch of traffic. And this is like what another stuff we never discussed, cancellation. So maybe when a photo is being downloaded, you should add the button like cancel and show how much traffic exactly you've been using, or like you're about to download this photo, it's gonna be that much. Do you want to proceed? So this is like more from the business point of view. So remember, system design, especially when you put yourself as a software expert, and I can't stress it enough, that means that you might not be constrained and you like experienced candidate. You might also want to think about business side of things as well. All right. So then we go to a high level diagram. So basically you jump with this module concept, and it was very confusing. Like what exactly a module? Is it like Gradle module if we're talking about iOS? Is it like a package? Like what exactly it is? So I would prefer names and components because one component can be separate in many different modules. So we said like our app gonna have 1 billion users. So that means that we're gonna have lots of developers. That might not necessarily be true. You can have lots of developers and the app would never launch, or like some guy in garage builds it and it just becomes instant success. So I would not put like strong correlation between this, and I would not go directly into Gradle because chances are the company would not even use Gradle because Gradle doesn't scale well as the project size grows, right? So it could be Bazel, Blaze, Bug, you name it, and you might never even heard of it. So don't try to constrain yourself into Gradle because your interviewer might heard of Gradle, but have no idea what exactly it is, what's Gradle module is, etc. Because remember, people might have like very tunnel vision for their experience. Okay, let's move on. Like avoid drawing arrows. Like if you draw arrows, you do them all, or don't do it all because like drawing arrows takes time and doesn't really provide any signal. So you can just try to group them together. So for example, in your diagram, you put cloud and a storage like close. And it's like, is it a cloud storage? Is it local storage? But well, you understand that could be a local storage, but imagine then you like screenshot it, submit it to hiring committee, and that like they don't know the context of like, what exactly it is. Okay. Encryption, decryption, like I know it's important, but as a privacy is not all about encryption, decryption, and I would safely bake it into the storage module and avoid join. And this is like some interesting stuff which I tried to practice myself as an interviewer. Like you said, navigation coordinator, and before you even have a chance to explain what it is, I interrupted you. It's like, what the hell is this? Right? So imagine you show me some concept which is foreign for me. And I just like, or this is not the way I understand it. And I got like outrageous and like, why the hell you put it there? And I kind of feel like you lost it for a second. Like it's like I'm attacking you and you just like, oh, okay, I probably did something wrong. It's not necessarily means that you did something wrong. It means that like the interview is confused and wants to have like more information right away, or like you got them excited and just like, okay, so this is exactly. But unfortunately, you could not really explain why coordinator component was required, like, or navigator, whatever you call it. So basically, the idea, like, which you, like, the way I felt it, you tried to sell is it would help decouple the components. So it's not about navigation graph. It's like your goal is just to make sure that photo watching module doesn't know about take photo module or sharing module, right? So they would communicate using some kind of intents. I'm not talking about Android intents. I'm talking about platform agnostic or use case or interactors, like any way you you name it, but basically you get some input and you tell them what exactly you want to do. So what it gives, you can build and test those things in isolation. Like you can launch them as standalone apps, etc. It gives a lot, lots of flexibility. So this is like why you would want to have it. If you just describe a navigation graph, I would say it doesn't provide lots of information, lots of signal, especially on a high level diagram. Okay, so that takes 8 minutes, which is about right. We can take 10, but I don't think there is a clear cut. And then we jump to storing. And so, okay, so we talk about albums. So first thing what happened, you jump it right away. So this is what we're going to be doing. It would be really good to actually explain the decision, right? So for example, we're going to be have like one entity, one table, which would, like, can you scroll down just so we can see it? Where is it? Yeah, albums. So ID name, description, list the photo IDs, right? So for example, why can we do, we just store album separately and we store all the photos separately and each photo knows about album ID? Like, why can we do that? And just make a simple join to present the data. So like, I know that like this is really inspired by Room for Android, how you would do things, but under the hood, it works with SQLite. And like, imagine your interview never used Room. That might be the case. Most likely they build their own ORMs. And you might want to explain a bit more on that. Like, okay, so I'm going to be using an ORM, and this is how it's going to be stored. But under the hood, it can store in this format and in that format. And just try to explain yourself a bit more. So it's very important to pick a concrete solution. So we said, okay, we're going to be storing photo, we're going to be storing raw bytes or reference to external storage. And you said that this is not important. It is important because this pretty much dictates how the rest of the design goes. So what it would say,
I said that we will consider it later. I say that it's not important right now, but we will consider it later.
For some reason, it enraged me a lot. And imagine I'm an interviewer and I'm writing feedback. And so I would make no assumptions and I would try to pick something, because imagine you're a software architect which cannot decide what to use. Like, you should pick something and explain what good stuff going to happen, like what advantages with the approach, what can go wrong, disadvantages. And so for example, we started I try to dive deeper, and you try to dodge the question, right? You start talking about unrelated things, you try to bring UI, and I constantly try to move you back, but you kept being indecisive. So what might happen, you might not really know the answer right away, and you would need to have some time to think. So it's totally fine that, okay, let me think, and started talking a lot. So what can what can go wrong, what can go right, etc. And yeah, when we try to explain the reasoning for not using blobs, blobs can be really, really, really big. And you're not going to run out of memory because you're not going to load your whole database unless you do this. So usually you use some kind of cursors or whatever, which only read data as you need it and would discard it. So I would say the reasoning for blobs, for not storing blobs, is not valid. And honestly, I can't really tell. Like, is it going to be good storing files or blobs? People say, oh, don't store blobs in database, but they don't really explain why. And it seems like it's a well-known truth. It's like axiom. So you don't need to prove like, oh, we don't store blobs because it's bad. Like, if you make statements like that, you better be able to explain why exactly. I personally can explain. I saw many different opinions, like what it would store. I would if I would use it, I would probably use a file. Why? Because like I would keep database lightweight, like only store metadata and store actual data on the disk, like actual blobs on the disk. I'm not sure if it's the right way or the correct way, but I would say this is the way I would do that. But there are lots of different opinions of what you can stay, like, is it blob versus file storage? But I have no idea how to explain it. So I would put it this way. So then we quickly jump in the concept of flow. So the concept of flow was not clear. And I was not sure why I would try to draw the flow. So you got me excited. So I didn't really want to know about the flow, but I said, hey, I'm going to draw the flow, how data goes. And you got me excited. So even if it was not a part of interview, I really want to see like where you're going to go with this. And when you ended up with a repository, it was kind of disappointing because like you got expectation high and then delivered low. This was just my impression. Maybe people who watch have a different opinion. I would really like to hear it. And like it seems like in the very beginning, you're not really sure why exactly you need repository data pattern. So the way I understand it might not be necessarily true, that you try to abstract different data sources from the rest of the app. So your whatever photo watching module said, hey, I need a photo. And you just ask repository and you don't care where it coming from. Like you just need a photo and that's it. And then you can, like when you test, you can swap it. You can like provide in-memory server and something like this, which simplifies things a lot. Yeah, let's see. Well, I would not try to oversimplify the case. So I said, okay, so we might have, what if we online only or offline only? You don't want to do that. You want to build a robust solution, like something which would work in any case, no matter your internet connectivity, like something which you catched and you keep saying lots of photos, but you never showed it in the design. So the app gonna have lots of photos, but yeah, that might be obvious, but how exactly we're gonna show this in the design? It was a case when I kept asking the same question, and the reason for that because like when the interviewer type when the interviewer is typing notes, they might not be fully paying attention. So that happened to me. I was like typing a long note and I totally missed what you say, and then it repeats the question. And you should remember it. So it might not necessarily mean that like that you said something wrong or they tried to force you into something. So what you can say is get, as I said before, and you stated, and okay, so they're good with that, and they keep going. So remember, it's not just about yourself. The interview might be distracted, they might be checking their phone, so you should be ready for that. Your goal is just to provide as much signal as possible. So then you brought the task, command, and query. And this was like completely out of blue. It's like blew my mind. Like, oh, okay, it seems like we're talking about different stuff. And he said like common curious channel. Like the concept of channel was not a very not very clear. Is it like Kotlin channel? What is it? What is this? So like that was really hard to get out of you because you keep dodging this. And then he said, okay, it could be async or sync, but it's like not important. Like as I said, you should be very decisive. You can say it can be async or sync, and then you say exactly. But from the point of view of the repository, like having sync calls might be a very poor idea because then higher level of the app should handle this. And you should have some entity like repository say, hey, give me a photo, and it should make sure that you have exact number of like concurrent operations, etc. I would hide it away. I would hide this implementation away from the rest of the app because the rest of the app doesn't really care. Okay, so basically when you talk about like jobs, dispatchers, make sure that you can express your thoughts clearly. So I would need to go back and tell you exactly how I understood your possible design. And basically like you said, oh yeah, that is exactly what I meant. So that was a bit strange. So then we come to this job versus task. That was not clear, to be honest. So the reason, like, I think you might want something like this is like tasks are basically just data objects. They don't really do anything. They only contain an intent you try to execute, you try to invoke. Job, on the other hand, it's actually tied to a physical worker. So tasks are numerous and cheap. Jobs are like, it's very small amount of them, right? And they're very expensive. So you can have hundreds of tasks queued, but only like 4 jobs executing. So this way it would make sense. But from the explanation which I got, it was very hard to build this. And so when I said, okay, so how would you limit the size of the queue? And basically that was a very straightforward question. Well, you said, okay, we're gonna like monitoring the network state. We're gonna have like region specific like network cost, and then we're gonna bring A/B experimentation. So you totally dodge the question, right? So what I would say based on device state, for example, if you on a cellular connection, right? If you on a battery, and especially in India, we really want to limit this. So if a user wants to download something, it's better to tap on the photo and say, "Are you sure? This is how much it's going to cost you," and bang, you put it, it downloaded. But I would not expect too many requests from a phone on an expensive cellular connection, which is very, very spotty. So basically, what was missing from the design? So the requirement that it's the most popular app in India was totally ignored. And there are so many ways we can take it away from this. It's like, okay, peer-to-peer communication, like how we estimate data. So for example, you might provide a setting where the user types how much money they would pay for 1 megabyte of traffic. So instead of showing kilobytes, you show it in rupees, which is like, it's much more expressive because like people in rural areas, they might not, like the concept of kilobyte, megabyte might be foreign for them. Or if we try to work with operators, which would pull this data or read from SIM cards, so like there's lots of creativity which can go here. So this design question is very popular, and I can keep asking it all the time and keep going in very different directions. So you can't really prepare for this. It really depends like what the interviewer going to be asking. So this way you should not try to learn it by heart and then reproduce something. You should try to actually solve the problem at hand. And there's like lots of discussion, like lots of like weighing pros and cons. So yeah, this is my feedback. And with this in mind, like if anyone has any questions or want to put any feedback, so please raise a hand. There's a button and unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, and I stop sharing here.
Yeah, go on.
Okay. Hi all, my name is Gürkan. So I'd like to start with the requirement part. So I believe after I read, while I listening, I felt like on the privacy part, a bit vague for me because the point, for example, what we are mean by the privacy and security was, I didn't get. Like, does it mean are we going to share this specific photo with him, some specific of friend, or are we aiming to while sharing with or uploading the photo with our backend or with someone else? Are we going to somehow encrypt or decrypt, or somehow are we going to share the keys to encrypt or decode the files? So I feel like it would be better to make it a bit more cleaner, because the privacy and security is a bit wide term. So it's good to mention, but to point or to go deep detail, it would be better. It's my first feeling. And please interrupt me in case you disagree or any question what I mean. And also, while also listening about the repository part, I'm a bit lost because I was because based on your what you are telling, I feel like you are also doing something to upload and download photos based on your description. But I was also thinking, don't we have already upload document photos on your box? And also personally, I wouldn't also go too deep about the dispatcher, etc. part because it's too close of time. Because when I checked my time, around the 35 minutes, you were still talking about that one, but you didn't mention. There are also lots of points that could be more potential signal for you, because in the 5 minutes, in the remaining 5 minutes, you need to address about where to store, how to solve the conflicts in case, for example, what about network is not available? What about if the user remove the photo, etc. There are lots of opportunities out there, but I think we spent most of our time about the uploading part. So I think that on the other part, there are also lots of signal points. And also on the encrypt decrypt part is also other point, but because encrypt decrypt is as a sound is okay, but if you want to go more deep, you need to also tell a bit about, for example, the listening for based on our privacy setting, listening the photos only will be visible by the Alex, for example. How are you going to ensure that? Are you going to share the keys, or are you going to do something, etc.? So only that part, I think it would be better to clarify that one. But I wouldn't do that because it would also you might end up get lots of question. For example, you could yeah. And on the other part, I on the album part, for example, we you mentioned about the list of photo IDs. Yeah, it sounds good. But for example, when I look at that one, I was feeling like you were, I'll say, describing to your database design. So it's also not traditional, right? Putting the album photos IDs inside album. So I feel like it would be better to, you can either create another table like the photo album, or simpler one, just put album ID inside the photo. It could be better. And also on the raw bytes and ref storage is also kind of tricky thing to you. It would be better because especially on the mobile side, it's a bit tricky because the privacy concern, also the API level, you need to also think on it. At least dimension, it would be better. And also the last thing on the sync part is also another word. Like there are lots of things we need to do, like the how many files we are going to upload, how we are going to do it, like either creating a single channel upload or on each thing to upload. There are lots of things. And especially I think key point India, like the network is not stable and maybe expensive. So we need to also consider those points. But the last final thing, the time management, I could say.
Yep, yep. So basically, like remember the system design question is designed to be vague. So we said privacy is really important. The candidate said, okay, exactly. What exactly is privacy? Like, what are we doing? So yeah, I totally agree. This should be covered, right? Different signal points, that really depends on the interviewer. So in my experience, I got interviews which like were very laser focused on some one thing. And they want to go really, really deep because it really depends on the experience level, like what they're excited about and what kind of signal you're looking for. So as an interviewer, it's really hard to influence this. So you should be ready to go as broad or as narrow as possible. List of photos ID, this is what I forgot to mention. Yeah, like where is it coming from? So what if you took a photo and it's not uploaded yet? What's the photo ID? Like what if you create an album? So that's where we can mention the concept of local and server ID. Like would you generate them on a client? Would you have like two versions, like one to store them in database, the second one is as to perform all kind of network communication. So Trello has a really good article about that. I don't have a link right now, but if you Google something like Trello, local, and server ID, you would find it. Sync part is another word. Yeah, I totally agree. It's like bang, it's out of blue. And there's lots of opportunity here. So like we could discuss peer-to-peer communication. Imagine like you have relative in a rural area, and they take lots of photos, and you live in a big city. So why can't you just come and sync both devices? So those photos from one device would be transferred to another securely, and then when you gonna come online with a broad internet connection, you would basically upload them on that user's behalf, so the rest of the family can see. So this is an interesting use case. Like we can dug there. And once again, yes, like when you're thinking, like what exactly going to be thinking, how much data, how much disk storage space you're going to be using. And time management is crucial. For this reason, you should be as like laser focused in your answer as possible. So they ask you a question, you just straightforward answer it. So this way you can cover much more grounds, and you're going to be like talking a lot. And then at some point, the interview would need to stop you right here and say, okay, fine, let's move on. So those are very good points. Denise?
Hello. First of all, thank you guys for this interview. I have several questions, but I don't think we have enough time, so I will ask only one. What do you think about little different approach to design app? I mean to start clarifying requirements not from high level things, but from screens, for example, and based on this information to start asking and saying opinion of architecture app?
That's a good question. That really depends, like what signal we're trying to provide. So if you start with screens, that means that you mostly care about user experience, right? Some people would want to start from the point of view storage. So storage is your single source of truth, and everything you do, it comes to storage, and the rest of the app simply reacts to this. And like when you design a system, like you usually don't start with screens. You start with components. So there is a C4 framework for architecture, like diagrams or whatever it's called. I believe it's called C4model.com. Like you can Google it. So basically, they provide you the following approach. So you start with a like like 30,000 feet view. So only major components. It could be like, okay, this is backend, this is client, whatever. And then you keep zooming. And every level you zoom, you provide more and more details. So the lowest level of zoom is like classes. Like you can actually look at implementation details. So I don't know if there is a clear cut how you can like do this. It depends on like your style, on the interviewer style. So it's not like set in stone. So this is how we're going to be doing this. But if you don't have any other approaches, so like I have seen cases when system design interview and people, okay, so this is going to be view controller, this is going to be recycle view or UI collection view. This is going to be my view model. So no requirements, no nothing, just straight to the point, like straight to some screens. And this doesn't provide much signal. Well, but it's same time it's not simple. It really depends on the level of the candidate. So if the candidate is lower level, it might make more sense to actually ask them about like MVX architecture. So how would they build UI? How would they have view model, etc. So in our case, the candidate is fairly similar. So he's a software expert. I can't stress this enough. So yeah, so instead of diving into screens, so remember when the candidate tried to said, okay, so this is going to be a screen, this is going to be a button. I said, I don't care about it. I don't care about screen. We're going to have UX departments. They're going to build it. We're going to run A/B experiments. We care about business layer of this. So we might not even touch screens at all. So this is just my opinion, might not be necessarily true. So use your best judgment during the interview. But this is a good question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, everything I say, you take it with a grain of salt. So Gokan?
I have a quick question around to navigation and coordinator and DI boxes. Do we think it's kind of necessary on the high-level design? I'm not sure about that one.
Probably not. Like the candidate wants to show it, and like the signal which you might want to provide that, hey, I care about DI, I care about like any kind of coordination between, because what he mentioned that, well, we might have a big team, right? So when we have a big team, we try to decouple everything, make sure that people can work on different stuff without stepping on each other's toes. So this is a signal I got. Like some people said, like, why the hell? Like that is absolutely nothing to do with high-level diagram. But as I said, there is no like received or agreed approach to system design interviews. So nobody knows how to do that. So this is one way, and I personally cannot see anything bad about it. Yes, it takes time. It might provide mixed signal, but if you do something, make sure that you explain yourself, like why exactly you put it there, because otherwise you leave it to the interviewer to decide like what exactly you meant. Eugene, do you have any comments on your end? Try to redeem yourself or?
So anyway, yeah, I just now I think it's better to analyze for me, yeah, to think about all that you said, and maybe later, yeah, I will comment. But currently, no comments.
So what I would say, it's very easy to be a spectator and give feedback. Like, oh, you definitely miss it here. So like try taking Eugene's place and deliver design in for about like 20 to 50 people watching. It's a very different position. So like, I'm not judging any of what Eugene did today. It's just practice, right? There is no job. Even if you make me cry today, right? There's going to be no job. So your performance doesn't matter much. What matters, like what you and the rest of the people, including myself, can learn from this experience. Yeah, see, so Denise said that it's even stressful to ask the question. And the reason for that, like the question might be considered to be dumb. And other people like you should totally know that this is toxic. This is not what you want to be. If anyone asks a question, and even if you think that this question is not like relevant, you just explain it and make no assumptions about the level of the engineer you're dealing with. So imagine a situation when your interviewer is way less experienced than you are. And yeah, you need to make sure that they should have a good experience because those are people who are going to write your feedback. So if you're going to be arrogant and said like, oh no, you actually have no idea what you're talking about, and this is how it is, it might not increase your chances of getting an offer. And like one of the reasons when, for example, Eugene said, oh, you're going to run out of memory if you load the database, which I did not agree. But there is no point of me of educating the candidate because I'm not helping myself to evaluate the candidate, like if they fit for the job, and I'm just wasting time. So like imagine me being a jerk and said, oh, you suck. Like this is totally wrong, right? And like fast forward, we switch places and I come to the interview and Eugene, oh, long time no see. And now it's not going to be a good experience. Yeah, so I can imagine how to be interviewed spectators. The whole idea is just to create as much stress as possible. So this is why, like, when Eugene made some mistakes, sometimes I went a little harsh, because like you should get used to the stress. If we're gonna have like we got like I don't know what was the highest, like 25 people. I don't know, I didn't count. So if you can keep your calm in front of 25 people watching, when you go one-on-one on the actual interview, it's not that bad. You're just a single person. So the whole idea, expose yourself to the stress. It's like imagine you're trying to get ready to run a marathon, but you just do laps around your apartment building. Like make as much stress as possible and be prepared to an interview being offensive, not supportive, or just interrupting you. But it's not about yourself. It's about this like special like interview style. So don't lose the cool. And remember, it's just an interview. It doesn't matter much. You just go there and have some fun and show off your abilities. So be prepared that your interviewer is going to be a complete asshole. Like you said something and said, oh no, this is not how it works. And I said, okay, I understand. I don't have enough experience. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll go check it out. Yep. Any other questions? We still have some time. Yeah, so Denis said this is worst nightmare. This is not worst nightmare. It's all depends on how you perceive the situation. If it's like, oh, they say something and you immediately took it personally and you gave it up. So this was a very interesting case. I said, what if user never comes offline? And Eugene's like, okay, we cannot do anything. And he gave up. Why? Because it seems like anything he suggests is wrong. But there's so many things you can do. The user never goes online, but for example, the computer goes. So why would we add like some kind of cable sync, or maybe provide a desktop app which can transfer the photos and help them sync? Well, you don't have an internet, but your relatives can. So why can you just like put devices together and just transfer some photos? So there's lots of things you can do, but never give up. Try to speculate. At least it's going to be fun. And like the signal of the, like imagine you provide signals. The interview is not expecting to have any robust solution, but the signal you provide, like the candidate never gives up. So I stepped on his throat, but he keeps going. His spirit is high. Like speculate, like do whatever it takes, but never say, oh, I don't know, I give up. That's a bad signal, because this what might happen in actual like jobs when you face a very challenging problem. I have no idea, I give up. Anyone else? How different L5 and L6 systems interviews? It's really hard for me to tell. But in my understanding, so there are a couple of levels when you can face the system design interview. So there is no point of asking someone a level 3 to design anything, because they most likely not have any experience. So at L4, an interview might be optional. So you might say, I really want to trade one of my coding rounds for system design. My work might not, but you can ask. And then like for L4, we go happy pass. You have internet, you have big disk space, and you might want to design some screens. So like they would say, if you're going to use like a view model here, or like which architecture pattern would you advocate for Viper, for example? Would you mention RIPs, something like that? So it's like very, very toy example, because you would not expect the candidate to actually have the experience. Well, when you start an L5, you already expect them to provide some value. right? So they started talking about unhappy paths. So what if the internet connection is spotty? What if disk space runs out? What if we crash in the middle, right? Something like this, right? So it's still kind of toy problem, maybe on a bigger scale, but now you think about unhappy paths and you think about like, oh, what exactly we can do, and just go a bit broader. On L6, those people, they might be expect to be less technical because they might not be doing any hands-on work for a little while. So they might know about latest libraries, latest languages, etc. But now they thinking about business case more. So they moving from how to build it to what we're going to build, right? So this is why you ask, what's the audience? Like, what's the team size? Like, are there any limitation deadlines? Is there any prior work in the company? Is there something we can reuse? And then it's you thinking about OMG scenarios. Like, oh my God, what happens if you like had like some functionality and then you deliver it and OS changes and now it throws an exception? Was an actual case with Android when Android R was released. If you tried to use some telephony API without a permission, it would throw a runtime exception, security exception. So imagine now all your clients crashing. What are you going to be doing? So you can't deploy anything. So now you said about experimentation, A/B, stage rollouts, and like all kind of things. So you're not just thinking of like what vendor to use, like what database to use, like how many files you're going to store. You're thinking about business case, and you're thinking it's like in a rainy day. So what the worst thing can possibly happen? What if you have privacy breach? What if someone getting access to your photo? What are you going to do? And the higher you go, you should ask like less questions. So you should provide more solutions that you generate problems. The lower you go, like you can get some slack and go like closer to the metal. Thank you guys. A few more fun with you. Like yeah. I have 4 minutes left. Anything else? Eugene, I think you did a terrific job. Like you're still learning. I think you did a terrific job. You're still learning. And this whole interview was deliberately designed to make you nervous. Like next time, I would try to be more of an asshole. I would interrupt you. I would question your cognitive abilities. But you should be prepared for this.
Okay, got it.
All right. Anyone else? All right. I guess that was good. I'll see you guys maybe next time.
Yeah. Goodbye, guys.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao.